Alright, Celtic fans gather round, because there's a lot to unpack today. We've all been buzzing with the rumours and growing excitement about Kieran Tierney coming back home, pulling on the green and white again, and giving that left flank the kind of energy we've missed since he left. But just as things were starting to look promising, there's been a hiccup, and not a small one either. Tierney's return has already hit its first snag, and it's got plenty of supporters feeling a mix of frustration and concern. So here's what happened. Tierney was part of the Scotland squad for their friendly against Iceland, a match that ended in a disappointing 3-1 defeat at Hampden Park. Now, beyond the scoreline, which by itself has already put Steve Clarke under some serious pressure. What stood out to a lot of folks watching was how off the pace Tierney looked. He just didn't seem sharp. The kind of burst and aggression we're used to seeing from him weren't there. That alone got people talking. Is he really match fit? Should he even have been playing? Well, those doubts were soon confirmed. It turns out Tierney had already arrived at the national team camp with a knock, a bit of an issue he was carrying from the end of the season. Scotland boss Steve Clarke admitted it himself. Tierney, along with Scott McTominay, came in carrying little niggles. Now that begs the question, if these players weren't 100%, why risk them in a friendly match? That, let's be honest, didn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. From a Celtic perspective, this is more than just an unfortunate setback. It's a potential disruption to Brendan Rodgers' pre-season plans. The manager had been preparing to reintroduce Tierney into the squad, build up his minutes gradually, and start getting that cohesion back in the backline. With the new season approaching and preparation time so precious, losing a key piece like Tierney, even temporarily, could throw a spanner in the works. We don't have full clarity yet on how serious the injury is. There's still a lot of wait and see going on, but what we do know is this: Tierney has struggled with fitness over the past few seasons. During his time at Arsenal and then at Real Sociedad, he's had patches of brilliance, no doubt, but also long stretches on the sidelines. That's why this latest blow has hit hard for Celtic fans. Not just because of what he brings to the team, but because this was supposed to be his fresh start. And let's be honest here, Tierney isn't just another returning player. This is someone who's still seen by many as one of the best talents to ever come out of Celtic's academy. He represents more than just quality on the pitch. He's a symbol of what the club can produce of loyalty, of passion. His love for Celtic has never been in question. In fact, throughout this entire saga of a possible return, Tierney has made it clear he wants to come back. He wants to be home, but love for the club only gets you so far. If he's not on the pitch, he can't help. And that's the real issue here. Celtic need him fit, especially now with Greg Taylor moving on and the left side of the defense needing urgent attention. Taylor's departure, which has now been finalized as he heads off to Greece, means Tierney's importance in the squad just went up a notch. There's no more hiding behind rotation options. He's expected to come in and make an immediate impact. That makes this injury all the more frustrating. There's a feeling that it could have been avoided. A lot of fans are asking why Clarke decided to play him at all, especially when it was known he wasn't 100%. Was there really a need to put him through the rigors of international duty in a game that didn't have stakes? Now, instead of focusing on his reintegration into the Celtic squad, the medical team will be working overtime just to make sure this doesn't turn into another long-term absence. Of course, there's still hope that this is just a precaution, that pulling him out early was the smart call, and that with a bit of rest over the summer, he'll be ready to go full tilt by the time the season kicks off. But when it comes to Tierney, there's always that shadow of doubt because of his injury record. Fans have seen this movie before, and there's a natural fear that this is the beginning of another cycle of setbacks. Now, Brendan Rodgers and his staff will have to walk a fine line. They'll want to use Tierney, no question about that. When he's fit, he's a game changer. His pace, his drive, his ability to overlap and whip dangerous balls into the box is all part of what makes him special, but they can't afford to overuse him. It's going to be all about managing minutes, being smart about which games he plays, and making sure there's enough depth in the squad to cover when he can't be on the pitch. That last part is key. With Taylor gone, who steps up? If Tierney isn't fit, there's not a clear answer right now. That puts a bit more urgency on the recruitment side of things too. Whether it's someone coming in as a direct backup or someone versatile enough to fill in when needed, Celtic need to be thinking ahead. The schedule this season is going to be brutal. Domestic competitions, Europe, it all adds up. And you can't rely on someone with a fragile history to play 3 matches a week. Despite all this, The optimism around Tierney's return hasn't completely vanished. There's still a sense that if he can get through this minor setback and build up his rhythm again, he'll be one of the cornerstones of the team. The fans are ready to welcome him back with open arms. He's still a favorite, still the lad who gave everything for the badge before moving down south. That connection doesn't disappear just because of a few injuries, but sentiment only. Goes so far in football. At some point, performances on the pitch have to speak louder than any nostalgia or emotional ties. This next stretch of his career is crucial, for him personally and for the club. If he can stay fit and string together a solid run of games, he'll be exactly what Celtic need. If not, then we're right back to square one. And that's why all eyes now are on the recovery. How the club handles this, how Tierney himself responds, and how quickly he can get back to full fitness will set the tone for what kind of season he's going to have. Everyone's hoping this is just a bump in the road. But until we see him back on the pitch sprinting down that left wing like old times, there's always going to be that little bit of doubt hanging in the air. The weight of expectation around Kieran Tierney is massive, and rightly so. He's not just coming back to be another squad player. He's being looked at as someone who can elevate this Celtic side to another level. Someone who knows the culture, understands the demands, and plays with the kind of intensity that Celtic Park feeds off. But with that kind of responsibility comes pressure. And with every twinge, every grimace, every time he doesn't make the squad, that pressure only builds. You can feel it in the conversations among the fans. It's not just disappointment, it's worry. Because everyone remembers the best version of Tierney, the one bombing forward, crashing into tackles, putting his body on the line week in, week out. That version feels like a long time ago now. And as much as people want to believe he can get back to that level, the reality of modern football is brutal. There's no time to ease into form, no room for sentiment. If you can't deliver, someone else gets the shirt. And this Celtic team isn't going to wait around. Rodgers has a squad to build, a team to fine-tune, and a campaign to plan that's going to demand full focus from day one. There's a title to defend, rival strengthening, and European ambitions to chase. In that context, every training session, every friendly, every fixture is part of a bigger picture. So having one of your key men already sidelined before the real work begins, that's far from ideal. Behind the scenes, the coaching and medical staff will be drawing up new plans. They'll be working out what Tierney needs to get back to 100% without rushing it. Because that's the danger here. Pushing too hard too soon in an effort to justify his return, only to end up with another long spell out. That kind of mistake could derail not only his own season, but also affect the balance of the team. They'll need to be smart, patient, and probably a bit conservative in how they reintroduce him. The mental side of it is just as important. Tierney has had to deal with constant setbacks for years now. Every time he starts to find rhythm, something interrupts it. That takes a toll. No matter how professional you are or how much you love, the club, that kind of stop-start career, eats away at confidence. So part of the challenge for him now is not just physical recovery, but rebuilding that self-belief, that sense of invincibility he had as a younger player when nothing seemed to faze him. And then there's the tactical question. When Tierney is fit, how exactly does he fit into Rodgers' system? The Celtic manager has evolved in terms of how he uses his fullbacks. It's not just about bombing down the line anymore. There's an emphasis on inverted roles, on fluid positioning, on helping out in midfield build-up play. Can Tierney adapt to that? Does he even need to? Or is his raw drive and traditional left-back style exactly what the team needs as a counterbalance? That's going to be one of the fascinating dynamics as the season unfolds. Because for all the discussions about fitness and recovery at the heart of it, this is still a footballing decision. Tierney needs to prove he's not just physically capable of playing, but that he's the best option in that role tactically and technically. The challenge is that he might not get many chances to prove that unless his body lets him. Meanwhile, the club can't afford to stand still. The left-hand side needs reinforcement, and they can't rely solely on Tierney, not with his recent history. Whether it's bringing in a younger player with potential or a more experienced head to offer security, Celtic need to ensure they're covered. It's not just about backups either. Competition breeds performance. Tierney being pushed for his place might actually be the best thing for him right now, both to keep him sharp and to reduce the burden on his shoulders. Supporters, of course, are torn. The emotional pull of Tierney returning is huge. He's one of their own, and they want nothing more than to see him thriving again at Parkhead, leading by example, lifting trophies. But there's also a growing realism. They've seen too many players come back broken, seen how nostalgia can sometimes cloud judgment. What they want more than anything is honesty. From the player, from the club, and from the manager. Rodgers is no stranger to pressure, and he'll know better than most how to handle a situation like this. His challenge will be to set the right tone, acknowledging Tierney's importance without making him the sole focus of the rebuild. Keeping expectations high but grounded, and most of all, ensuring that the team doesn't become over-reliant on a player who might not be able to offer consistency just yet. And Tierney, his focus will be singular. Get fit, stay fit, prove he still got it, prove the doubt is wrong. Not with words, not with emotion, but with performances. If he can do that, if he can find that rhythm again, then Celtic have a player on their hands who can define their season. A leader, a warrior, a symbol of what it means to wear the shirt. But the road there is delicate. Every week matters. Every bit of news about his condition will be dissected. Every training photo, every squad selection, every absence, all of it will be analyzed. That's the spotlight he's under now. That's the burden of coming back to a club where you're not just a player but a hero in the eyes of many. Still, there's belief. In the stands, in the locker room, even in the wider footballing world. People want to see Tierney rise again. Not just for what it would mean for Celtic, but for what it would represent. A player overcoming adversity, returning to his roots and reclaiming the form that once made him one of the most exciting fullbacks in Europe. Time will tell if that story gets its fairy tale ending. For now, it's all about recovery, resilience, and readiness. Because the season waits for no one. And when the whistle blows, Celtic need every soldier fit for battle. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. There's a bit of chatter brewing in the Scottish Premiership circles, and it's got more than a few tongues wagging across Ayrshire and beyond. Danny Armstrong, the ever-fiery Kilmarnock winger, might have just stirred the pot with comments that some are taking as a less than subtle jab at Celtic. It all began following Killy's latest performance. Solid, spirited, and the kind that's become something of a trademark under Derek McInnes. Speaking to the press after the match, Armstrong praised his teammates' effort and unity, but dropped a line that raised more than a few eyebrows. At least here, we're a team. Nobody's walking around thinking they're bigger than the badge. Now, he didn't mention Celtic by name, but as folks say, if the shoe fits, given the recent headlines surrounding dressing room unrest at Parkhead and whispers that a few Hoops players haven't quite been pulling in the same direction, Armstrong's words feel pointed. And if they weren't aimed directly at the Glasgow Giants, well, the timing's not exactly helping cool speculation. Armstrong, known for his no-nonsense style on and off the pitch, hasn't shied away from the spotlight before. And with Killy having pulled off strong performances against the old firm sides this season, there's a growing sense of confidence around Rugby Park. But confidence can easily be mistaken for cockiness, and this latest remark is already drawing sharp responses from Celtic fans online. One supporter wrote, "Funny how folk find their voice after a few decent games. Let's see where Killy are come May." Inside sources close to the Kilmarnock camp suggest Armstrong didn't intend to single out any club. Still, in the world of Scottish football, where every quote gets spun through the rumor mill, intent doesn't always matter. So, was it a dig at Celtic? Just a general statement about team spirit? Or something in between? One thing's for sure, Armstrong's words have added just a wee bit more spice to an already heated season. Keep an eye on the fixtures, folks. If this one keeps simmering, the next Killy Celtic clash could be more than just a match. It could be personal. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.